I don't know what I just did. I was scratching my head and I hit my my headphones in a certain way and it like rang out like in my ear and I thought that something was playing because it went bing and I was like, what's happening? Hello everyone, welcome on back to the channel. Hope that you guys are having a sensational day so far. Hope you are feeling good and just all around finding yourself in a good place and a good mood today as we listen to a little bit from Big Train. We're going to listen to this particular track entitled The Permanent Way. This is coming off the album English Electric Part 2, released in 2013. 13, their 8th studio album. We're listening to this track because it was suggested and sponsored by Paul. Thank you so much, Paul, for the suggestion. Thank you so much for the support as well. You had mentioned that it's possibly the most English-sounding prog song I may ever hear. It's definitely possible. It's definitely possible. I mean, we did listen to like Battle of Epping Forest, and you know, there's a few very English, very English songs and such that we've listened to before. So it's possible. Selling England by the Pound, the last track on there with Isle of Plenty, that's a very English song. So much so that I miss many of the references, but. We'll give this one a shot. We'll give this one a run. We'll discuss it a little bit after. The Permanent Way. That's a lovely opening. That almost reminds me a little bit of East Coast Racer. Like the opening, a little bit before the drums and Nick comes in and everything. Came in mid-verse.
Sunrise, the inland navigators heading for the far sky.
And the drums came in halfway.
Upon the hills amid the silence of the high moors, down in the valleys by the rivers and the dry stone walls.
Up here somewhere is where the colliers and cargo boats were to unload. The rattle of cranes, the noise of shunting, goods trains puffing with heavy loads of coal for Somerset, Devon and Cornwall.
That is where you will find them, out there working by the hedgerows, in the rain and
electric pickup.
That's what it's like now. Your hopes have died. They flow like driftwood down the tide, out into the open sea. Oh, sad, forgotten innocent deed.
First of all, was my microphone off the whole time? If so, I'm gonna have to edit something, do something about the beginning. Okay, this was a really, really beautiful track, and I don't know what came through with what I was speaking. Maybe nothing came through while I was talking. Little comments during the track, but a few different things. First of all, I love the way that Big Big Train handles their version of symphonic progressive rock because it comes across to me so genuine, not forced at all. They have the orchestration, involved in the music in such a beautiful, beautiful way. And it really makes the music come to life with how everyone is so involved in every single process. The strings sometimes work so beautifully in tandem with the keys and the synths and obviously guitar, but the charges of horn and other things come with the rhythm of the drums. Like it all just works in such a beautiful way that it feels like one purely united group. Big Train is not just the main instruments, so to speak, or the conventional instruments. It is everyone involved, and I think they do a great job of really, always performing that way. The Permanent Way is much more of that, and absolutely feel good, relaxing, in adventurous track that hits all the perfect notes. In the beginning of The Permanent Way, I actually mentioned it, but there's one part during that beautiful ambient opening here, when that background right there, that sounds like East Coast Racer. That hits a little bit of this before that. It hits a little bit of that similar ambience. In a way. I don't know, there's a certain note in there that really hit that East Coast Racer sound. Okay, Longden sounds oh so good in here, right? It's just always a pleasure to listen to him. But you know who the star of this show is? Besides everybody in the sky? Nick on the drums. When he comes in, the way that he plays is so diversified, and it's so, oh man, it carries the music in a really beautiful way that is both so perfectly in line with being in the pocket, playing the groove, playing to the music and to the song, but also almost in a very independent way, the way that he drums. There was a moment, I should have looked at the time. Hold on. Might be around here. No, it's after this. Here. Listen to his drumming, okay? This is obviously when the song's speeding up. Is it here I'm thinking of? No, it's not the fill. Man, I wish I looked at where it happened. There's a certain time where he starts off the groove, but it doesn't carry on or forward in the way you would expect. Speaking of which, both David, he comes in at kind of like halfway in the verse, like the drums come in halfway in the verse as they start to stack up and line up with each other, which I thought was kind of cool because it keeps you on your toes, keeps it unexpected. And just like East Coast Racer, kind of glancing at the lyrics, we'll have to, dive into them a little bit more. But the album, well, I shouldn't say the album. The songs we've listened to from this album kind of seem to have like an English working class kind of theme, with East Coast Racer and then the different things mentioned here in The Permanent Way, which we'll go into as we dive into the lyrics. It seems to have kind of like a deep respect for the average person. In a very English way, and I think that that's really cool because the music uplifts, and I think that's really wonderful. Gregory, his guitar solo, ooh, the organ, the synth, the way that the synth rises out of the orchestration is really beautiful. The way it just kind of sings out, and then the ending has a really gorgeous ambience to it, and it's in this ambience that I love all these little details. The violin here, you heard the ambience of the keys, trickling, guitar lines. This whole ambience right here is sensational. See a little synth, the violin. Like they're all playing in such a fashion that it creates like this tapestry of nature. Like if you were to go out into the woods at night, daytime, it doesn't matter, I guess. There's always noises, right? You hear the animals, the cicadas, hopefully not a growl, but you hear something. And so, like, it's like we're being put into a sonic and musical forest there, where the musicians are creating the animal sounds and the ambience of nature to fill in that particular spot. And I think that is so beautiful, and it ends that way. This is a nice long section coming off of those extravagant solos. You got about 2 minutes of just bringing it down. And it is absolutely wonderful. And like they're still riffing around. They're still like, you know, inserting little sections of their own solos, you could say, but they do it in a careful and considered way that comes across very measured and very, like I said, subtle and beautiful, and it makes up the outro in a really nice way. It's a nice summation of everything. The farmer working in the fields before the sunrise, the inland navigators heading for the far skies. Up on the hills amid the silence of the high moors, down in the valleys by the rivers and the dry stone walls. And then you have a spoken word here. Up here, somewhere is where the colliers and cargo boats would run. The rattle of cranes, the noise of shouting, good trains puffing with heavy loads of coal from Somerset, Devon, and Cornwall. That is where you will find them out there working by the hedgerows. In the rain and the snowfall, you'll find them out there high against the skyline. In the mines and the headings, you'll find them down there dreaming of the daylight. The line will hold the mark of man upon the land, the inland navigators reaching for the far skies. This is a beautiful section where everyone was singing there. Really nice harmonies. And then the last spoken word, that's what it's like now. Your hopes of dying, they flow like driftwood down the Tyne, out into the open sea. So when I read this, I read this about, you know, the dreamers. You know, the dreamers in England and such who, you know, are carrying the country, are the foundation of the country and stuff, you know. The people that sometimes don't get noticed. You know, I think it's like a big respect to them. And the permanence with which they set themselves. The things they do may, you know, be temporary in their life, but the effect it may have is forever, I think. Now, I am curious though, kind of like with East Coast Racer, I'm curious if we can find where that spoken word is from. Let me go to Big Train's site, because usually I can find that directly from them, because they have a pretty good website, like with some information from what I remember looking at it last time. Come on up with me. All right, let's see. Permanent Way is a pivotal track where we try to bring everything together. The title phrase is a Victorian expression which means the finished track and bed of a railway. Okay, there you go. On the Permanent Way, which is the penultimate track on the album, we have brought together the stories of the individuals and communities working on and under the land, who alongside with inescapable geological forces helped to forge the British landscape. I'm close. Where people have helped to shape the landscape is at the hands of ordinary folk that this has been done. Sometimes this has been at the behest of powerful landowners, and at other times it has been due to the vision of those far-sighted men of iron. But in the end, it all comes down to ordinary men and women in communities past and present working on the land. Couldn't have said it better than from Mr. Spotton himself. Let me know what you guys thought of this track, of course, in the comments down below. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you had a good time with it. Paul, thank you so much for the recommendation and for the support as well. I truly appreciate that. And I hope that you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I don't know how long my microphone is muted. I got to check back on the video. I got to check that. If it was muted in the very beginning, I got to fix that. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you all later. Bye, guys.